Hello, and on today's episode, I'm here with Fauve Altman of State of the ΔApps. How are you today?
I'm very good, and you?
Doing great. So could you tell me a little bit about the problem that State of the ΔApps is trying to solve?
So what is State of the ΔApps doing at the moment is we're trying to solve the decentralized applications usability and adaptability as well, because it is still a new technology. So for users, for developers, for investors, for technologists, for the average Bob and Sally, there's a potential of solutions from the dApps that are looking for a problem. And it's also there's a lot of hype around it. The Web 3.0 big hype, it's like we hear those buzzwords and we all get excited about it. But what we're trying to do is that it's not just about a hype. It's about why are people focusing so much on building decentralized applications? How are they going to solve an issue that people who use, let's say, the basic Web 2.0 applications are not content with? And we're trying to educate the developers on building something that people will want to use, and not only building because they're having a shitload of fun, sorry for the words, of building and coding and developing ideas, which is great. But at some point, there's no point in keeping on building certain types of decentralized applications if nobody's going to use them. So we're trying to educate the developers around that, and then also show to the users what's out there.
Yeah, so you have a website that actually shows like all kinds of stats about the dApps.
Exactly. So yes, we have the statistics page, and it's kind of to give a generic view of, it's our community for sure, but we try to be as holistic as possible around the ecosystem of decentralized applications only on Ethereum at the moment. And we try to show the categories and the number of dApps and the active users and the transactions and the number of contracts, so that users or developers can see what's happening, can see their competition. The users, people who are doing, let's say, researches on, specific types of dApps that are for voting, governance. We have these classifications, and we're really just trying to filter the building of dApps for you to get more users and also show what's out there.
Yeah, it's a great place to discover new dApps. I mean, I would recommend it to anybody who's looking at building one. Sometimes I think people think that they've got a wholly original idea, but if you go on some of these directories like yours, you'll see, there's like 3 or 4 people doing pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're trying to do. And we've added also the kind of community rating system on each of the dApps. So people can give a like of the dApp, a neutral reaction to it, like not impressed or have nothing to say about it in a way, or dislike the dApp. And people are starting to use this option, and it's good because it also tells the developer, the author of a dApp, if too many dislikes is on it, then maybe that gives them an intel as to why. But it's good. You have to have bad criticism is good criticism in a way, mostly when in such a new technology.
So do you know how many dApps you have on the site right now?
Almost 1,900.
Wow. And so it's a kind of a platform for discovering new dApps. Is there like a search function? Can I look for certain things like the decentralized exchanges?
Yeah. So we have a few form of search options. So if you go, let's say, on the page where it's all the dApps, so just the general search, then you have the search bar and you can search per tags. So a general word that would describe a dApp. So let's say community, a collectible dApp, and you can select that one, and you can also select a few to refine a bit the search. So, a collectible that is focused on perhaps community or focused on social or lottery. Is there that? So you can look through that. Or if you have already an idea of a dApp that you're interested in, that let's say a big popular one, Ogre, you can search by the name directly of the dApp, you get the dApp, and then you get recommendations of similar types of dApps as well when you select one. And we also have collections. So curated collections, some of them are automated. So automated would be the ones where there's the most users' actions on them. So that shows what the ecosystem, how people interacting on the platforms are seeing. And we have automated collections on that. And then we have one about MetaMask. The team at MetaMask selected the best of MetaMask that they found. Crypto gaming for a lot of the gaming dApps, finance ones, exchange ones. So we try to curate to refine the search or gather same types of dApps together.
So it sounds like a really good place for people new to dApps to go to discover a whole bunch of cool things to explore.
Yeah, very much so. And also, I mean, for let's say you want to build a dApp and you just want to see, is it already out there? Are people already doing that? And if so, you can see what they're doing or not doing that you can add to yours, or people doing research.
So as far as dApp usage, do you think that it's increasing or is it staying steady?
The usage, I think it's increasing for sure, but I think it's increasing nonetheless by the crypto niche community, and not by the average Bob and Sally, as said earlier. But I think it's growing, and the fact of it to grow in usage is also by just, showing your friends what dApp you're using or why you're interested in that one and testing them out.
Do you personally have any favorite ones?
Yeah, I have a few that I actually quite like. One that's really active right now is ETH Land. It's a lending platform on the blockchain, on Ethereum, and it's quite amazing. It works very well. I for sure have a little sweet spot for crypto kitties like everybody. I have a few kitties, and it's just cute and fun. I really like Sweet Bridge, which is a social economy one. So I really have a little sweet spots for social economies dApps. I think there's a lot of use cases for which they would be really usable and practical over the whole world.
So what have been some of the challenges of developing this project?
Challenges of developing this project? I would say sometimes finding the projects if they don't submit them, so the dApps. So you have to search the web, the ecosystem, the web 3.0, and search it and find them and add them. Getting also the authors to update their data on a regular basis, because then we might have also misinformation, wrong information, updated links, updated statuses, missing contracts. So the dApp doesn't go in the ranking page because we don't have the right contracts or no contracts for it. So we don't get the activity of that project. So kind of getting a back and forth of having people to submit their projects and updating them, because it's hard sometimes to look around and find all of them. People are building all the time, which is great. Another one is how to get more users and user retention on them, to get people to actually click the dApp and interact with it. But that's what the whole, I would say, ecosystem is working on. How do we get more users?
Unfortunately, there's still quite a bit of friction onboarding users to these dApps.
For sure, completely.
Like I talk to people who really want to play around with CryptoKitties, but they kind of feel like there's a brick wall of just, getting everything installed. And there's so much you have to know before you can even play. Yeah.
There's a lot of friction. It's understandable, the steps that you need to go through because of the whole security, and it's your own money and the interaction with that. It makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't make it easy for somebody who's not familiar with that. And I think it's kind of the big question. How do we work around that? Is there a way to work around it? Maybe. It's happening slowly.
Do you think that we will make that friction lessened, that will make it easier for new users? Or do you think there's kind of a barrier where we can't, with those private keys and stuff, it seems like we can't really make it too easy?
I don't think it should be too easy because of the privacy around it and the anonymity around it, and the whole personal ownership of it. But I think it has lessened already quite a bit, and I think it will lessen a lot. I think also it's part of the technology that you take responsibility for your actions, and that's a good thing too.
Yeah, I think the challenge that if we can solve it, that'll make things a lot easier, is just educating the users.
Exactly.
And so if I have a dApp, how do I get it added to your site?
So you can either message me directly, find me on Twitter, Medium, our support email that you can find on the website. And we have, which we really encourage everybody to do, is submit your dApp. We have a dApp form, and you submit the information of your dApp. And we receive it in our support, and I will respond saying that, do we accept your dApp or not? and also respond with some informations for the author of how they can interact with their dApp on our website and updates. And also will respond if missing information would be better to increase the strength of a profile.
Does it cost anything to be listed?
Nope.
Oh, very good.
No, so we're really trying there just for the users and the developers. Yeah, we do. We've been around since 2015, and we want to increase the number of platforms. So we're opening up to other platforms. We recently opened to POA Network, and we're opening up shortly to EOS as well. We want to improve the quality of the content, the interactions for the developers as well, and for the users. So we're always trying to enhance on the developer front for their projects and on the user front. What will it look like? I can't tell you 100% now, but we're always welcoming feedback from everybody that uses the website. It's for others that it's here, and that's why we really welcome comments and feedback from others, and we'll see how it'll look like over time. We're constantly working on little changes.
And as far as the number of dApps that are available right now, is that increasing, or do you think it's holding steady?
Oh no, it's increasing. Last June 2017, we had about 320 dApps listed. In less than a year and a half, we're at close to 1,900.
Oh, wow. It is a huge area of growth.
Crazy growth.
So have you ever thought about making the actual site some kind of distributed application?
It has been discussed, but it has not been... We have not yet gone to a consensus around it, because therefore we would fall perhaps into, again, the friction of the users. And the idea is to not have that friction. But we might do a branch around that. We will see.
It's a really great directory to discover dApps. Is there anything that I should have asked you that maybe I missed?
No. I would say to people, keep to the authors, to the developers who have their projects, to keep looking the rankings and to submit their platforms and edits. And to keep up us to date, and we're here for the dApps. I think you've covered most of it pretty much.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much for reaching out. And by all means, everybody can reach out to us.
Hello. If you like this episode and you want to hear more like it, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you'll get every single episode. The Talking Cryptocurrency podcast is available on all podcast clients. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. And if podcasts aren't your thing, I publish video versions of these interviews on YouTube and DTube, so you can subscribe there too. All the links to all that stuff is going to be in the show notes. So please, if you want to hear more of this show, subscribe.